Hi, this is Dr. JACALYN KERBECK, the President, Founder, and Chief Listening Officer here at our network at USA Global TV and Radio. Thank you so much for your loyalty. Thank you so much to all of our guests, to our team members, to our sponsors, and to all of our elevated listeners. Here at USA Global TV and Radio, we provide world-class education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. We celebrate all of our team members, all of our guests, and all of our sponsors from around the world who come and lead their lives with their hearts to help other people walk into their greatness. If you'd like to be a guest on any of our shows, please go over to our website, usaglobaltv.com, and book your session. Please contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com and subscribe to our channel. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning. Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio. I'm Dr. JACALYN KERBECK, and our show today is The Wise Ones. Our topic is harmony within ourselves. Joining me is the star of our show, Mr. Red O'Loughlin, and we have a very special guest backstage. Red got up at the crack of dawn to start our day off with food and emotions, and what a great way to segue into The Wise Ones, and then Talking Heads is his show right after this. So it's a Red day all over. Welcome, Red.
Yeah, I know you just finished the corner bookstore. If I booked myself on that, I'm not even sure I'd have a chance to go to the bathroom all day long because I'd be on TV the whole time, regardless. Thank you so much.
Now you know what I go through.
Yes, I do. I can appreciate that tremendously. So, but at least you're standing. You could have a running start. I have to push away, and anyway, it doesn't matter.
That is true. I stand for all of our shows. So, Red, this show, I think, is just so fascinating because we have people from all over who are coming to share their stories. And their stories can be anything from things that they've achieved or a platform that they represent, a mission that they're on. And you bring really great guests, and today is no exception. Before we bring out Jody, I'd love for you to share a little bit for our first-time viewers and listeners about the value that you are bringing to your clients and also to our audiences.
Okay, a little bit different question than normal, but we can handle that. What do? I write, I speak, I publish books, and I also co-host some broadcast shows. But on the writing, from a book coach perspective, I take 1 or 2 clients a year, and I help them go through the process of writing a book. 80% of the people in America at one point in time in their life says, I'd really like to write a book, but only 2, maybe 3% in any given year actually write a book because there's always too many things involved. There's never enough time. They get lost in the middle. It's too hard. Anyway, there are many, many easy ways. And with the technology today, you don't even have to tap the keyboard to write a book. It's just so simple. And because of everything that's available on Dr. Google and Dr. YouTube, you don't even have to spend a penny if you don't want to. There's a whole lot of ways of doing that kind of stuff for free. But that's one of the ways I can help you. I publish books. I've done, we're working on number 5 for Dr. JACALYN right now. She had 2 #1 best-selling books, and then she's had 2 #1 new releases on her children's series, and she has her 3rd children's book coming out at the end of March. I think in conjunction with a birthday, but I'm not positive. I think that's also true. And so I help people get their books published. But that's what I do. The other thing that I'm passionate about also aligns very closely with our guest today. I research the human body at the cellular level, chemically speaking. I look for cause and effect relationships. Treat a cause, fix a problem. Treat a symptom, and you'll always be treating symptoms. So my specialty in the health and wellness arena is longevity. I look for those things that cause people to age. I wrote a book on it, covered the 2 primary causes of aging, what you can do to accelerate or decelerate the aging processes. And so those are the things that I have passion about. I love to just dive in. Today's session, right after the Wise Ones on Talking Heads, we're session number 3 out of 6 on toxins. And today we finally get a chance to look at some real chemicals and what they do. And I'll have a chance to at least expound on some chemical names that are longer than normal. But we keep it easy, simple, and we don't lose anybody whatsoever. But Jody Birnberg is a friend of mine. We were in a mastermind together, and it's just a a wonderful opportunity to have other people who you know, who you have confidence and trust in, who have a value to share with the audience. And Jody is one of those. She is a life maven. She believes in you're not too old to do anything you want to do. And with that, I'm turning it over to Dr. JACALYN to bring all of us together.
Thank you so much, Red. Jody, welcome to the program. Hello.
Hello, hello. It's great to see both of you.
It's nice to have you here. And by the way, did you know that you matched precisely with our background today?
No, but I must have dreamt about it. I think that's why. The dream came to me, and that's why.
It's absolutely perfect.
Isn't that funny?
Jody, my first question for you is, you have next to your name, for people who are on the radio or podcast platform, you have story strategist. What is that?
Great question. What I like to do is find out who and what you're all about. A lot of times people think they're one thing and they're really another, or they want to present themselves on social media without really kind of delving in a little bit more. And I have a way of finding out what is your story. And sometimes what they think it might be something completely different. And that helps them get confidence in knowing that they can present themselves, be it on social media, maybe for their mission or their passion.
Thanks so much, Jody. So I'd like to just follow up with a question. So when you're working with a client and they think they're one thing, do you sense that there's more there than what they see, and you bring that out of them?
Well, yeah. What I've done is, I think what you call me is kind of a spiritual junkie. And I started in 1973 and my journey. And I was always curious, always asking questions and wanting to know, what is it about life? What is it? I was always curious about that. And over the years, I guess that's been about nearing 50, if you can believe that one, I've developed a sense about people when I talk with them. I've done probably about, 200-300 interviews of people at this point. And invariably, what surprised me after I'd interview them was they'd have a very different reaction to themselves than how I perceive them. And invariably, they could be a big macher, and own a company or whatever it is. Invariably, it was like, did I do okay? I shouldn't have said that. Maybe. And I thought, this isn't what meets the eye. What else isn't what meets the eye? And it kind of started me on that journey of discovering another thing and seeing and asking questions when I do interviews and podcasts of others that come to me intuitively. I feel it's very sacred that somebody else would even they share their space. And I hold that very sacred.
I can relate to what you're saying. A follow-up question, then I'll turn it over to Red. So in my experience in interviewing people, I feel the same thing, but it's also interesting because people have seen things in me. People I've interviewed have seen things in me that I didn't see. Have you ever had that happen to you?
Actually, the funniest thing was when somebody turned the tables on me, and I wasn't expecting that. And there was a different feeling, I will say, because there's a difference I'm the spotlight as opposed to somebody else. And it really had me thinking, because the questions I started asking her, she turned around and said, okay, Jody, now you answer the questions. And I said, okay. It got me thinking a lot.
I love that, because when we're thinking, we're growing, right? And I love the connecting and interviewing people and getting people to open up and look at other opportunities for them, other doors that they can open. And you're sort of I don't want to say soothsayer, but you're the person who's helping them expand their minds.
It also started when I became in love when I was 16 with Spanish. Believe it or not, I was from a family that nobody spoke a word of Spanish. And there was something about, I just thought it was lots of fun and really easy. And I just fell in love with it. And so I started practicing blabbering, living in countries. Long story short, I became bilingual. There is a key to another world that I have been fortunate to enter. And it kind of reminds me of what I do with interviews, what I do in my work. There's a key. It's unkeen, I call a language, so to speak, because obviously coming from not knowing Spanish and building on that, and seeing how rich my world has become being bilingual and what I've gone through in my experiences.
Thank you so much, Jody. Red?
I just want to comment how much easier it is when you have a local person talking. I'm talking a lot local in the United States, because this morning we had a lady from Kenya, and there was a little delay. And so you're waiting and you're waiting. It may only be a second or a second and a half, but that long delay just seemed to be longer. And just boom, we're having a conversation, and we're not waiting for that electronic delay. So from that perspective, this show is just, it's going crazy with regard to communicating. But legacies and aging and all sorts of things, we kind of meld in and out on our thoughts and our topics. But you have a concentration on, I guess one of your sayings is you're never too old to do what you want to do. Is this something that applied to you first, and then you said other people should have the same way, or how did you come about that mental philosophy?
Well, one of the things that I decided and read, I know you're the scientist, okay? I barely got through high school biology. However, I do know this, we're all made of energy. And I thought, I'm 68, and what does 68 look like? And I thought, when I looked at my grandmother, and she was 68, I thought, my God, you're older than God, And when here I am, 68 myself, and now a lot of people are a lot younger than me. And one of the things that I thought of is that, what is it that I can bring to the world to be in the energy of living my legacy now? And what is that? What can I do? Because I believe that I am what you call middle-aged now. Because when I went through a lot of self-reflection and some other things that I have done, I thought, well, why can't I plan for 50 years ahead? Why can't I plan for 30, 40? And why can't I help others, if they are so inclined, to get that same feeling, that hope, that continuity, that they can live now in the energy of their legacy? They don't have to wait. People, so many people, they retire and then they just fall apart. And I think that there's a way that we can do things differently. That's my mission, really, to rethink and redo how we do aging.
I wake up every morning, and one of my expectations is that this is the first day of the next 30 years of my life. And I'm 76, so that puts me well into the hundreds, but I've had this for a long time. And it's just, if that's your expectation, that's generally something that's going to happen, as opposed to I wanted that or I need that, because we're talking to a different part of the brain. But you're living your legacy now. How long have you had your podcast going?
The podcast is relatively new. I think the podcast might be about a year old.
Okay, I thought it was a lot more than that.
Yeah, no, I think so, if I remember right. Yeah, it's going really well. And my view is that we all have our stories. We all have that. And why can't we also get into intergenerational learning? I'm in a platform right now, for example, where I'm learning some things with people that are younger than my own children. And I learn a lot from them. It's not like anything condescending. And I think that that's so important, to plug ourselves in. Maybe there's different communities. I'm single. I know that you're not. But as I think of myself as, yes, there's certain things on the outside that perhaps my warranty is kind of given out a bit. But as I get to a point where I might need a little bit more support, maybe there's some other alternative communities to live in.
Yes, I love that you shared that. I know when I was in corporate up until 2020, there was a major change in that when I was calling on C-level executives, they were all in their 70s, maybe their late 60s. All of a sudden now they're in their 20s and they're in their 30s. And some people of the same age as me, I'm 59, they were really put off by that, that they want to speak to somebody who's the same age. But when we are with younger people, we have different perspectives, or people from different parts of the world. I have learned so much on this platform. And I'm sure the same thing with you, Red, and also you, Jody. It's when you talk to people from other cultures, it's kind of mind blowing, because there's so much that I had no idea about, that I was really ignorant.
I totally agree. And it's interesting because this past weekend, there was an engagement party in Dallas, which is like 5 hours away from me. And I saw, my son is getting married, and I saw a number of his friends that he grew up with. And it was such an interesting perspective, a change of perspective. I haven't seen these boys, young men, since they were a lot shorter and a lot younger. And I learned a lot from them. What do they do for a living, and how do they do it in their lives? I was fascinated by these young men and learning from them. It was really a fun and wonderful experience in that interchange, as well, of course, on the podcast. I mean, my mind is blown every time somebody comes on there, really.
I have to ask, do you do your podcast in both English and Spanish, depending on who you're interviewing?
Yeah, it just depends. Yeah, I've done one in Spanish, and I can do it. I can do it either language. And then we did one in Spanish and one in English. It was a lot of fun. Yeah, that's my passion, and it still is. 50 some odd years later. Can't believe it's that late. I'm like, 50 years. Where did it go? I'm still kind of blown away. Can't believe it.
Well, it shows the passion that you have and the love of life. And I'm wondering, when you're working with your clients, what are some of the methods or the modalities that you use to get people to open up?
Well, what I do, I've been told that I ask good questions. I focus in on the person, and I see where they're at, of course. And if they want to focus in first on inside, because I believe that if our insides are not feeling so hot, that how can we do something on the outside, just besides wear ourselves out and rust down? So I just see where they're at, and I'm not a doctor. I don't even pretend to do that. It's more of how they're doing with that. And there's some buckets I call buckets of things that I can dig into to help with that as well. And then I get into their mindset and what's going on with them, and what do they want to do? We come up with a plan of action, and I hold them accountable, and very accountable, because I believe that somebody needs to be cheering us on in life positively, because I know that that's how I grow. And so I'm there for them. And also I throw in, if they want, a video interview at the end. And I do the editing and the graphic and music and things like that.
That's really nice, Jody. You and I have a lot in common. That's so cool. And did you learn all these things as you went? I know you have a business background as well.
It was funny that you say that, because when I went to college 1,000 years ago, my dad, of all people, I said, Dad, I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. What do I do? And he said, Jody, do what makes you happy. The rest will fall in place. And this was 1972 or whatever, 73 when I started. And I always remember that, because I was the one, it was kind of reverse. My parents were like, calm down. And I was like, oh my God, I'm frantic. And to have that background, and then I took up some business because I thought, okay, well, that's all right. But I was a language person, and doing what I love has really helped. Now I found that I've had to talk my way into jobs, because you can always get like a Spanish-speaking architect or a Spanish-speaking scientist. So where would I fit in? And I managed to fit in.
I love it. And you seem so happy.
I really am. I am. And especially, I've made some major changes the last 10 years of my life. And I think that when I face something and be honest with myself, then I'm willing to feel the feelings, go through those hard feelings. I have supportive friends and ways to support myself emotionally, spiritually, and everything. and to know that it is a good life. I hadn't always felt that way. I want to be honest with you. But and by the changes that I've done and being willing to face them head on, I've developed a nice little life for myself here.
Congratulations. That's
Well, thank
wonderful.
you. I hope you have the same one, JACALYN. I hope yours is enjoyable. I bet it is.
It is. It's the last 2.5 years have been amazing since I left corporate. I had a great corporate career. We can do that on another show, but I just feel like I've walked into where I'm supposed to be. So it's truly amazing. But I'd love for you to share, if you can, without getting too personal, over the last 10 years, you've made changes that have brought you this joy. Can you share something about that journey?
Got divorced.
Okay.
That's long and short of it. I was with my ex for about 28 years. And, I wish him well. And it was hard to get divorced, as you can tell. It took me a long time because I had to decide. I didn't feel like I was alive inside. I think that's the best way to put it. It was like, okay. Nothing was like awful or terrible, just okay. And I thought, is this how I want my life to be? Just okay. Not so bad, not so good, kind of going nowhere. And there were other issues, of course. And I decided that it was time to go. And so I made that decision with a lot of planning. Thank God I'm organized. And it was really actually a good divorce. We were quite cordial to one another. So it worked out really well. And then facing what is it like to live with, I felt like my right arm was cut off and it's not as much as missing marriage, but I miss the patterns, the structure. And I longed for structure when I didn't have any. Living in an apartment for the first time in 30 some odd years, 30 years, I guess, things like that. It was a new life, and there were ups and there were definitely downs. And I decided that this is what I make of it.
Thank you so much for your transparency. It sounds like it's a lot of it has been a lot of newness, a lot of opportunity. And it's interesting because we have Red, who's been married for a very long time. I've been divorced for a very long time. Your divorce was recent or 10 years ago?
Recent, perhaps compared to you guys, it was 2013. So
Okay.
It was it's about 9.5 years.
And when we think about telling our stories, right? When we think about our journey, there are people, I know people right now who are literally terrified to separate or to go their own ways because of the unknown. But yet the unknown can be so exciting. It can be just you doing what you want to do when you want to do it. And I think that's one of the things that makes me the happiest about being single.
I agree with it. Now, if you could do that within a marriage, great.
Yeah.
But I was just talking with someone this weekend, as a matter of fact, and this woman has been married for, oh my gosh, a long time, 40 years or something. And she really wasn't very satisfied. It just, what I was hearing from her was kind of like, this. And I said, well, you can get divorced, it is legal. And I think she knew it, but it was more like, but then giving up that, what as you say, to that huge unknown. Can you imagine being with somebody all those years? Was still kind of brushed it off, I would say. To be honest with you, I don't think it really went anywhere.
Red must be thinking, what are they talking about?
Well, you have a mate that obviously you can be who you are and bring everything you are to what you do. And I know that you've been a very, very happy marriage because you've told me. And that's what, that's wonderful that it's worked out like that. I think it's fabulous. I mean, I thought I'd be married forever. It wasn't like I planned to be divorced. I looked forward to it. It's just something.
We met 57 years ago. We've been married 54 and a half years now.
It's amazing.
That's amazing.
Dr. JACALYN, are we going to do a commercial break today?
Yes.
Okay. Another moniker that Jody wears is LifeMaven. Yes. And I'd kind of like to go down that path when we return. So let her kind of figure out which road on LifeMaven she wants to talk about. So
All right, sounds good to me. We're going to take a break and watch a couple of sponsorships, and then we'll be right back. Thank you. You feel so frustrated. Why won't anybody hear what you have to say? You're filled with anxiety. You feel so isolated and alone. You're desperate for a connection with someone out there in a world that just seems to keep rushing by. Stop. You have a choice. Learn how to listen at an elevated level through the Power of Listening educational courses available on usaglobaltv.com. A world where you manifest everything you need and desire through the power of listening. The Power of Listening educational courses are available today for you to feel and know you have connected and you have been heard through elevated listening skills. The Power of Listening educational courses and children's books available today on usaglobaltv.com.
When we speak, we don't hear. It's abundantly clear. Listening lazy scripting, and nobody's gonna win. Look someone in the eye. If you don't, they surely will cry. You don't hear a word I say, 'cause you always look straight away. Listening lazy, driving us crazy. Listening lazy, making us blue. Listening lazy, communication goes hazy. Listening lazy, listening lazy. Da 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 da. Listening lazy, driving us crazy. Listening lazy, making us blue. Listening lazy, communication goes hazy. Listening lazy, listening lazy. When you interrupt your friend, you will surely have to make amends. Lady Ella knows the way to help you listen better every day. And what's that? It's listening lazy. Ba-dum-ba-ba. Listening lazy, driving us crazy. Listening lazy, making us blue. Listening lazy, communication goes hazy. Listening lazy, listening lazy. Listening lazy, driving us crazy. Listening lazy, making us blue. Listening lazy, communication goes hazy. Listening lazy, listening lazy, listening lazy.
Welcome back to USA Global TV and Radio. Our show today is The Wise Ones. I'm here with Red and our special guest, Jody. Thank you for staying with us during the break and not running away. Appreciate it. So, Red, you teed up a question for Jody before we went to the break. Do you remember what it was?
Yes, she has another moniker that she is known by as a LifeMaven, and I'm kind of interested how that developed and how does she use it today, and what value does it bring to her clients?
Thank you for the question, Red. By the way, I really love the music on the commercials. I have to tell you, I just love. I just had to
Thank
say
you.
that. It's
Thank
really
you.
cool.
Available on Apple, Amazon, and anywhere else that music is sold.
Maybe I'll have grandchildren someday, and I could get the little books for them. LifeMaven, I grew out of video, being a video maven, and what I used to do is a lot of videos for people, just strictly videos and online to help them be known. And I thought to myself, what do I really want? And I would really like to see people be the maven, and that's Yiddish for expert, connoisseur of their life. And I thought, that's what I'm after. Life maven, be the maven of your own life. And that fits into what I had described before about finding who and what you're all about. And if you choose to bring it on social media, I can help with that as well. Or we can just explore off social media and starting, as I mentioned, with body, mind, and soul. And I have some programs with that as well, and some things that I do with people that can help them so that when they are wherever they are with their purpose or with their elevator speech, whatever, that they feel comfortable and knowledgeable in knowing that this really is who and what they're all about. Because I think sometimes people say, okay, this is what I do. And then I get the sense of, okay, but there's more to it. And then we might talk a bit, and it's something completely different than what was presented to me.
Thanks, Jody. Yeah.
How long did you have your video business?
Well, it still is. I mean, I still do the videos as well. I think about maybe 3 years, 4 years.
Okay. I
So
thought it was a little more.
Well, I was a teacher. See, 4 years ago, I was a teacher. And that was another thing about my life. I decided to leave teaching. And it was just totally on faith and trust, because I didn't even have my, what do you call it, the retirement stuff. I didn't have anything. And I just knew that it was time to go. And so I said, okay, now I'm going to listen to my heart instead of what makes sense all the time. And that's what got me on my journey to become a life strategist coach. And then the videos, I just thought, oh, this is so much fun. I mean, I just love to learn how to edit and all that good stuff. So, but this is fun. I can do that. And then I looked around, and there were a whole lot of people that are baby boomers that are like, you say the word technology, you'd think it was the word, ugly word or something, And to me, it's fun, and it's connection and joy. And that's another love of mine. I also help people that are baby boomers that don't particularly like technology to help them like it if they choose to.
Yeah, Dr. JACALYN started her entrepreneurial career on day one of COVID.
No way.
Yes way.
Oh, what a time to start. Actually, I guess everybody was home, so they had nothing better to do. Or I mean, how do you put it? I mean, it could be really good or really awful.
Yeah, I gave my letter of resignation, and then I had 2 weeks left, and boom, that's when COVID hit. I was like, okay, but I had a plan, just like you. I was a planner. I had plan A, B, and C, and I worked with a coach. Jody, what I'd love to have you weigh in on, as well as Red, is I feel like, especially with today's younger generations, I don't know that it was like this when I was younger, but they're not afraid to say, you know what, this isn't working. I'm going to try something else. They might have 10, 15, 20, whatever number of jobs. Then we get to be a certain age. I don't know if it's in our 50s, and we're like, oh, I can't change now because I can't split this up, and I can't retool, and I can't learn. I'm afraid of technology. So maybe it's like the 30s and 40s where it's that gray zone. But in your love of life, in your love of helping people, you're basically saying, listen, get out that hammer, because we're knocking down all the doors. We're taking the windows out, and we're just starting from scratch. And it's liberating. But there's so many people out there, and I know you've encountered this, where they're just coming to you dragging bags and bags of bricks, and they won't even take one out because they're just so afraid. So what does the process look like when you have somebody who's really set in their ways, but they've taken the step to reach out to you? So what does that journey look like? And anything you could share with our audience who's out there right now thinking, that's me, she's talking about me.
Well, what I do is I'd want to know, first of all, I give this little PDF and then they fill it out. And I want to know where they're at. What is it that they would like to accomplish? What is it, if they even know? And what attracted them to me in particular? So what is it that they see in me that they could see for themselves? And I'm curious, like I mentioned, and I like to know that. And maybe there's something, maybe it's a brand, maybe they're scared of doing videos on Instagram or something. Maybe maybe they just are tired of being sick and tired of using their age or having other people tell them they're too old for blah, blah, blah. And I'm not saying go wear a bikini or something. I mean, whatever, if that's what you like. But I am saying that there can be a joy in life, and that it really can be fun. It really can. And I didn't always think that way. And I'm so adamant this way because I make up my mind that it's going to be joyful. And I also am willing to face things the way they are, and yet know that there's a lot of blessings in that. And also I use a lot of what I call my toolbox over the last 50 years of some of the modalities I've done. I won't bore you with a long list right now, but some of it's energy work, and other thing is just a lot of different things that I've done.
Jody, it sounds like you have been on the awakened path, the awakened journey for a long time. I think I awakened probably 2 years ago, but it really is enlightening. Red and I were talking about this earlier today. We had a guest on, Braca Getz, and she was talking about the pleasure ladder and how there's 5 rungs, and the first is the physical. And for people to actually awaken and move up the path, or Maslow's hierarchy of needs, it really is life changing. But yet there's so many of us who don't want to do it. We stuck our head up in the sand. We're like, let me go back down here because I know what to expect. So how important do you think it is that people are open to awakening in some way, to realize that there's more out there for them than maybe what they've been experiencing, or the routines that they've been following?
I'd also be interested in some of the messages. Where did that come from? That they XXS. What happened? And I'd be curious about that. And what's going on is that true? And what proof do they have of that truth of whatever they're telling themselves? Because we both know it all starts with our brain. And are we even willing or wanting to change it? Because if you don't want to change, it's really okay. It's just that I see people that are my age, maybe a little bit older. I mean, for me, 80 is very young. I don't look at 80 as being old by any means. And when somebody tells me, I talk to some younger people and they say, oh, well, my parents are just like blah, 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 blah. And they're like either younger than me, which happened a couple of weeks ago, which shocked the heck out of me, or they're just mildly older. And I'm like, no. There's more to life than this. There is. I know there is. If we just hang around and just believe in it and find our roots, who and what we are all about, but from our own, as I say, truth. And that's something that is open to anybody. There's plenty for all of us. I mean, I started my business. I was like, what is it? I'm 67 now. So what's that? 64 or something? And I told myself, well, what did Colonel, the Kentucky Fried Chicken man, I forgot his name, Colonel Sanders, right? He started his business when he was 63 after so much failure in his life. 63 years old. And I thought, oh, there you go. Right up there.
I love that. Thanks for sharing that. I just wanted to share a story in alignment with what you just said. Yesterday, I went to do the same workout that I do all the time, solid core, and everyone's sick of me talking about it. But there was a woman there who was much younger, and she was visiting, and it turns out, I'd asked about her parents. Oh, my parents could never do this. And I'm thinking, I know they're younger than I am. And the funny thing is, I was stronger than her, which is what, I wasn't judging. I just happened to think, we do it to ourselves. We tell ourselves that I'm too old to do this. Now, I don't know when it comes to wearing a short skirt or plunging top. I'm not sure. I don't know how we feel about that, but it's all in our mind. And I think if we tell ourselves that we are too old, the body starts going, hey, you know what? I'm listening to what you have to say. What are your thoughts?
I totally agree with you. And I got it. There's this fabulous book I'm reading. I don't get, zip out. It's called Strength to Strength by Arthur Brooks. And one of the things he's talking about is how when we're younger, we can get all sorts of ideas and creative things. And yet the good thing is that when we're older, we can process those things and put it in other areas of our life that perhaps we couldn't do when we were younger. And that I expand to our own thinking. Why can't we expand that thinking? Why can't we change it? And he has all sorts of scientific whatever to back him up on that. And my view is, well, why not?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when we follow some of the longevity strategies that Red has been sharing with us, I think it's a winning combination.
You talked earlier about how do you take some of these experiences that people have because they get laid off because of the economy, they get laid off because of COVID, companies downsize, and yet they may not have as good a resume as somebody who's been 40 years with a company, which is very rare. But what they have that a 40-year employed person doesn't have is they have the experience of working in different industries, but different bosses at different economic times and different demands. That experience is invaluable, but they have to be able to show that they've learned from that and they can apply it to what they're doing. Because that, okay, 2 years here, 3 years here, I would get resumes of people back when I was working, and sometimes just too many different jobs. But if you look at what were they doing, did they advance because of this? Or in some cases, well, you've been an engineer for 23 years. So I don't want supervision. I'm just happy being an engineer. That's all I want to be. People, some of them know exactly what they want and they go do that. And so it's how you learn and then how you repackage yourself to make yourself, not necessarily for another company, but for your own self, make it better. And I think that's part of what you're doing with your programs there, Jody.
Well, thank you. And I really love what you said, because I have been in a lot of different businesses. A restaurant, let's see, I was a paralegal. Oh, gosh. The land, they get titles in the land. Owned my own company with my ex-husband for years. Teacher, entrepreneur. And in everything I've done, it's like just what you said. There are threads of similarities. And there are also things that are unique to each thing I did. Like when I was in a restaurant business, I was assistant restaurant manager, which is different in many ways. And at the same time, it's all about, that one is really about relationships with people. And if you can stay up really late at night working.
Yeah, it's a very physical as well.
Yeah, it's tough business, very tough. And I was young. I was like 22 and I was working till 2 a.m. on a Wednesday. And I could only go out, I think it was on Sundays, some weird days. It was never the weekend, which, if you're 22, it's like the end of the world. My God, what? I'm working weekends. Oh my gosh. So it didn't last very long.
But you were able to take something from the different things that you've done and be the person you are today.
Yeah. And hopefully all of us have. Hopefully we've kind of remember and reflected and kind of integrated that. And I think that the big thing that I get inspired by is nature. And I'm not the kind that's going to go and do a tent thing in the middle of nowhere or mountain climb in Timbuktu. No, that's not me. I've got to have a nice hotel and a potty. But at the same time, you know, I look around and I think, you know, you've been around a lot longer than me. You've been flexible. You've had things not go your way. And yet there is a peace that I feel when I'm out in nature. And I live in the city. However, there are parks, so it's so easy to access. And for me, that my daily walks are really my daily vacation, because that's a time to get reconnected.
So true. I love what you're saying, because when I go for my walks and I see all the different kinds of trees, and I know here in South Florida we have a ton of iguanas and all kinds of birds, but you look at the tree and it's been there how long, and sometimes the roots have, you know, broken through the walkways, and I think, wow, I think I have a problem. This thing's been here through hurricanes, through, like, you name it, through us coming in and taking over. So I love what you're sharing, and I think it's all about perspective and aligning yourself with the right people. So Jody, there are people out there who need your help. They want your help. They might not know it at the moment, but
Come on in.
So if you can share with our audience, we have your banner up, but some people can't read it. They're listening on a radio station or podcast. What's the best way for people to reach out to you, and who would you like to contact you?
Well, I would feel free to contact me. LinkedIn is a great spot. It's at linkedin.com/Jody Birnberg. Let me spell that for you. It's JODY, B as in boy, IRN, B as in boy, ER, G as in girl. And that would be a great way to contact me. I love working with all people. Baby boomers are what I'm partial to, perhaps because I am one of them. However, I find that if you just have a calling or a feeling in your heart or the energy today, give me a call. And I do offer a free strategy session to see what and who and what you're all about, and how I can be of benefit to you. Because it's all about you. It's all about making your life better, enjoyable, and bringing that to whatever platform, if any platform.
Thank you so much, Jody. I really appreciate you being here today, and I hope you'll come back and see us on this or any of our other shows and continue to share more.
And thank you what you're doing. I just really love this USA Global TV. This is great idea. And thank you, Red, for all you've done over the years. I just got to tell you, because your science blogs are amazing. Thank you.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you both. Jody, I hope you'll stay tuned, as Red is coming right back with his own show for 30 minutes. Red, tell us more about that.
Talking Heads. We're in the middle of a 6-part series. This is number 3 on toxins and health. We'll be talking about a reference site today that is incredible with regard to being able to find any packaged product that you want to know how safe it is, and any other kind of information on just chemicals in general. And I think you'll really enjoy it. I can be found very easily at redolaughlin.com. That's RED like the color. O'Laughlin spelled OLAUGHLIN. So it's Red O'Laughlin, RED OLAUGHLIN.com. My banner is there, has my contact information, phone number. My preferred method of contact is phone. Just give me a call, voice, and email. Those are the 2 primary ways that I prefer to do business. And with that, Dr. JACALYN, I'm turning it back over to you, because I got to get my running shoes on to get over to the next studio.
Okay, Red, run along. Thank you so much, Jody. Great seeing you. And again, come back and see us on another show.
Thank you both very much.
Thanks. Bye-bye. And thank you to each and every one of you out there. We really do appreciate you. I think we are coming up on 1,900 and some shows, which is truly mind-blowing, especially I'm standing for all of them. I've got my running shoes on, believe it or not. So I just want to close out with a couple of messages. In case you did see and hear the Listening Lazies, this song is now available for download for purchase. You can go over to Apple, Amazon Prime, I'm sorry, Amazon Music, Spotify, Pandora. It just happened as of yesterday. So I'm super excited about that. The other thing I want to mention is that we do have a new team member, Katrina Valente from Dubai. She has joined our Elevated Listening team. She's also one of our co-hosts on Secrets to Timeless Beauty. So everyone is invited to join as an Elevated Listener on USA Global TV and Radio by taking the Power of Listening, a 2-hour online on-demand course that we really encourage everybody out there to learn how to listen. That's what we're all about here, is learning to listen at an elevated level. So if you'd like to join us, all you have to do is take the course, and I'll be providing that information in the chat. Here is a graphic, which is a little outdated, but the course is only $39. Again, it's 2 hours. And once you take the course, you have a 7-question quiz, and then you get certified as an elevated listener, which enables you to be a part of and offered to join us in many different and exciting ways, one of which is learning how to listen and being an animal character on our books. All the animals on the book covers are elevated listeners. So for example, the book on the left-hand side, that's our first book, that is red right there. The red ibis is Red O'Laughlin. And the ladybug is Lady Ella, and that's me. And it's dedicated to my great niece, and her name is Ella. So both of these books actually have earned Amazon #1 new release. The book on the right, we did release on the 14th, and it became a #1 new release that day. Our third book is coming out. Lady Ella has afternoon tea in London. So Lady Ella and all the animals teach children and their families how to listen at an elevated level. You can purchase our books over on Amazon and anywhere where fine books are sold. Thank you again. I have to run over to the other studio to produce for Red, and we really enjoy every one of you who is following us, who is liking us, who is spreading the word. Please go over to our YouTube channel, USA Global TV, and subscribe. Thanks again, Jody. Thanks, Red. And thanks to each and every one of you. Bye.